Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. My virtual obsession, my romantic thriller, is now available on Amazon and other online retailers. This book explores the intersection of loneliness, love, and how chasing perfection through technology can lead to fantasy and reality colliding. My virtual obsession out now. Hey everyone, it's Captain Crestani with another episode of Willow Healing Matters, and today I'm joined by the lovely Omanisa Ross. She's a naturopath and aura therapist with the thriving practice in Darwin. And for those American listeners, this is a town at the top of Australia, and it gets very hot. Recognizes over 100 different aura colors, mind-body states, and for the past 30 years has been using this skill to effectively counsel, heal, and guide others onto their path and into their power, helping her clients feel lighter and brighter, calmer and wiser. So a big welcome to the show, Omanisa.
Thank you. Very good to be here.
I thought I'd better tell people where Darwin is, because if you haven't been to Australia, you'd be like, what?
It's the tropics. It's beautiful.
Exactly. And there's so many beautiful things up there. But how did you come across the ability that you could read auras, and how did auras actually fall into your life?
I think growing up in an artistic, spiritual family, there's a lot of science in there as well, but definitely artistic, spiritual. I think the concept of the aura was probably something I stumbled across relatively early, maybe in my mid-teens. Might have been a few books that I read. Who's the lady that wrote The Color Purple? Alice. Can't remember her last. Yeah, so I was familiar with the concept, and then I had a series of experiences that made that a little bit more real for me in my teenage years. A magic mushroom trip, and I saw thought as color. So every time people were thinking, I experienced it as colors. And then later in my early 20s, I began working as a healer. So it began with me studying Reiki and learning how to do hands-on healing. And so for me, the energy, the key, the prana of the person's energy field, I would experience that as a sequence of colors in my mind. And then I started doing distant healings for family and friends interstate. And so it just seemed quite natural for me to draw the healing that I was doing so I could explain what was happening. And then one day someone looked at one of those and said, oh, that's an aura portrait, an aura sketch. No, it is. And then the next thing I knew, my Reiki teacher was organizing a healing expo here in Darwin. And she said, would you like to be one of the healers? So I said, yes, but I'd like to do aura portraits, and then promptly kicked myself because I'd committed to something that was completely theoretical. I didn't really know what I was doing. And so then I just immersed myself in lots of study. I looked at color psychology and color systems like the Eastern chakra system, and did a lot of reading. One of my favorites was a very, very famous Australian aura reader called Judith Collins. And she's got a wonderful book on how to see and read the aura. So I was armed with all this wonderful information, turned it into charts. And then on the day, somehow it all just clicked together, and I knew things about people and what was happening in their lives and how they were feeling that I should not have known simply from sitting there holding their hand. And it began there.
So for anyone who wants to get some better understanding, Judith Collins' book is such a simple way to explain the different layers of the aura. And I used that myself when I was writing my book because I needed help understanding what these different layers actually meant, because I knew we had an aura, which anyone's not sure what that means. It's your energetic body around you, your biofield, electromagnetic field. There's so many more names now that science has caught on it's actually happening, but there's actually different layers, and those different layers represent different things. So I wanted to learn more about that, and that's why I ended up looking about auras. But I find it so fascinating that you were painting it and almost making a spectral, like spectrography print, but through your painting.
Yeah, that's right. So I would find a troubled part of the energy field, like something that was disturbed or blocked, and that would be an unpleasant, not so nice color. And then as I was healing, I might bring in something like a healing response to that that was a different frequency again. So if we think of the colors as being a way to make visual different qualities or flavors or frequencies of ki, of prana, then yes, I would draw the healing in, the healing response. So it's a lovely way to think of it. I still do aura sketches, but I ended up putting all of my colors from my chalk box onto cards and creating a deck of aura cards. Long time ago, probably over 20 years ago now. And so that's what I use in most consults, and it works really well.
Amazing. I would love to see this deck at some point. Can we
I've
still
got
get it?
a version that I sell to clients and students. Yeah, it's very popular.
And I also love that you've entwined that into your naturopathic practice as well. So what was the kind of game changer when you merged the two together?
They were quite separate to begin with. So I'd already been doing the sketching, reading, and healing with the aura probably for about 7 years or so before I graduated as a naturopath. And for a while, they were separate. And then it just quite often someone would come in through the naturopathy door, and then I'd graduate them over because it was just so useful in terms of providing counseling and helping people understand the mind-body connection, which I think is actually a really important part of naturopathy, that holistic approach to recognizing that your physical health can be influenced by your emotions, your personality, your experiences, your behaviors, and just linking all of that together. I even sometimes say for people that, if you're not comfortable thinking of aura colors and the aura as being real, as being literal, you can just think of it as a way to color code the connection between mind, body, personality, behavior. What was the question again?
Where did you find they fused together? But I feel like you answered that.
Yeah, fusing together. It was, you're right. I did answer that. It was really a gradual process of them linking together. I think because as a naturopath, I do a lot of teaching skills, raising awareness, helping people with stress management and emotional self-regulation. It was just a natural evolution that the best way for me to do that was to paint a picture of someone or do a card reading, say, here's a mirror for you to see yourself. Let's create a story that helps you understand how all of this links together. For example, your stubbornness, we could illustrate with this brown color that's like a rock. And that's another connection here, is the connection between the colors and nature. A lot of my color training came from my spirit guides and was very nature-based. So when they were teaching me about red, I'd find myself in situations with fire and dragons and all these beautiful nature-based, colorful metaphors. And for me, naturopathy is nature therapy. And so I had this beautiful bridge through the colors between this concept of nature as a form of healing and I guess a more Eastern approach, sort of holistic health, where we might have these different elements and recognize that they reflect different parts of a person's being, their personality, their physical health. So, for example, coming back to the idea of the rock is brown and it represents playing it safe and it's connected with grounding in the base chakra, but it can be slow and it can be cautious and not so quick to change. We've got that like a rock. It's steady and it's reliable, but it's stubborn as well. And so with these beautiful visuals, these lovely metaphors, we start to be able to convey to a person these ideas that might otherwise be a little bit abstract. I just love the storytelling, I guess, that you can use in aura therapy.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful link. And I love that your guides helped you bridge all of it together through creating the images in nature. And I know personally when I bring colors in, actually I tell people colors are powerful because each color has a different frequency, right? Like, and you don't have to be spiritual to understand that. That's the whole point of the rainbow and different light waves and things like that. But
when I work with colors, what happens is the color will come in and it's like, okay, what color do you want it to be? So I love that you have the nature element. I might borrow that, but it's so powerful. Like colors, I feel are this kind of forgotten, and even nature and working with the plant kingdom, it's kind of become this forgotten element. You know, like angels have got their they're still there. They're like, we're still here. They had their limelight, and then spirit animals and things like that. But nature's kind of like working with the plant kingdom has kind of been pushed to the side. They're making a reemergence, but it's been pushed to the side for a while.
Yeah, I think, that's so as a naturopath, I love working with herbal medicine. And so for me, the plants have an aura. They have their own, just like humans do, their own personal collection of ki, chi, prana that expresses their personality and what I think of as their spirit medicine. So I think we understand that animals have a spirit medicine. They have certain qualities or traits that they embody that we can learn from. It's just like hanging out with someone. They rub off on you, you learn from them. That's what I think of as spirit medicine. But plants have that too. They've got their own aura. And it's one of the ways that I love to work with plants. And so you've got your sort of more clinical naturopathy where your use is based on the biochemistry, the constituents in the plants, what we call the phytomedicine or phytochemistry. But you can just as easily switch gears, and by using a smaller dose, which is a little bit more like flower essences or homeopathy, this beautiful drop dosaging, you can tap into the spirit medicine of plant and use it for the aura, for the chakras. And so I've got this great collection where I've mixed my flower essences that I've been gathering for 20 plus years with the herbal medicine, where it's like I get to know the aura, the energy of that particular plant from just spending so much time with it. And then I just mix in some of my color essences and some gel elixirs. And so sometimes when I'm working, I'm obviously going to prescribe um, a proper biochemical amount in a herbal medicinal way that is quite modern in naturopathy. But I also love to take an approach where maybe someone's got a broken heart and they might need one of my pink heart chakra love tonics to repair that, along with some exercises that I give them. I love sending people home with homework and medicine.
I call it soul work. But I love that. I love that you brought up that plants do have a medicine and a personality and a spirit, because I have some clients and they don't resonate with angels. So the plant kingdom goes, we're here, we're stepping up instead.
Yeah.
And, like the first time I met the spirit of mugwort, my goodness, it's just this non-negotiable, here I am, take me or leave me, I'm going to protect you. And you just have to accept it. And it's like, wow. And it's very big. Like it was a big energy. Whereas then
Yeah.
when you tap in with Rose, like you were saying, with that beautiful pink kind of energy, it's like, all right, here's the love, but it's kind of ripping it open. Maybe we need hawthorn instead, just to have a bit more of a hug. So it's not as, oh, here's my heart.
That's right. And the way they work together as a team when you do a blend. And of course, you would also understand that you don't always need the literal herb or gem or whatever it might be, in the same way that you can call in the spirit of an angel. There's no reason why you can't use the visualized, imagined spiritual version of any of these beings, the spirit of them.
100%. And sometimes it's enough just to feel like, how does that plant make you feel when you're around it? How does it feel when you look at a sunflower? How do you feel when you look at that? And that can be enough to create that connection too, which is such a beautiful way.
Yeah. And of course, there's a lot of subconscious things going on for people as well. Sometimes when I'm, say, working with flowers, part of it is because I'm trying to get a somatic sense of softness. The softness petal landing on your skin, landing on your chest, breathing into that. And then if you add something like pink, again, it's people's subconscious and the body associates with softness. And so if we've got this rigidity, if we've got these walls, we've got this hardness that is happening, you're just inviting someone away from that. You're inviting them to just soften it.
Yeah. And I love that you encourage those different feelings and somatic experiences in people, because I know you're passionate about letting people come back to their emotional intelligence. And I say come back to because it's an evolution too.
Oh, well, we live in a society, I think partly it's because it's patriarchal for the most part, but we do live in a society that makes emotions wrong or less, or I guess is something that should be able to control or suppress. And depending on who you are, men are allowed to have some emotions, but not others. Women are allowed to have some emotions, but not others, and it's a lot of people, shoot the messenger. They don't realize that it's part of your body, your subconscious, your inner self communicating with you, and that there's a lot to be gained from listening to that, and beginning a dialogue with it. And it can be hard work sometimes trying to get people to listen to their body, to recognize that emotions are body sensations. And so I link the work where I might be reaching my hands into the aura, into the body, and getting my fingers around some really big blockage while I'm getting them to do some light breathing. So it's breathing where we're combining it with color imagery and nature-based imagery, and body awareness, like body scanning, being able to scan through the body. And so when we link all of that together, and we're teaching about self-talk and the inner child and how to work with the wise inner elder, it's really, really powerful. And the brain loves it. The mind body loves it. And so you can have a session with someone for an hour, and even though you might not see them again for another month, you can see the way the mind body, the subconscious, has grabbed hold of that and said, oh, yes, please, and run with it. And the skills have been quietly sort of ticking away and building in the background, even without them consciously, deliberately working on that. It's great.
Yeah. And so much easier.
Yep. Look, I used to sometimes have people come to me and say, oh my God, I've been working with my psychiatrist or my psychotherapist or my psychologist for years, and I've had more progress in one or two sessions with you than what I had with them. And I think some of it is because it's the combination of the edge that we get when you're working with the aura, and you can lift something out, you can drop something down, you can adjust something, plus the somatic work. Talk therapy is great. And I think a lot of modern professionals are using a lot more things like creative visualization and somatic therapies, body-based work. But yeah, I think when you mix a lot of different techniques together, you can get an edge that you might not otherwise be able to have.
Yeah. And, that's the beauty of all your experience, Omanisa, is that you can go, okay, what's going to work best for this person in front of me? What am I going to pull out of my tool bag? Maybe they need more than just me scooping things out of their aura. Maybe they need to feel it in their body to shift it. What is it that's going to align for them?
Well, when I'm teaching my apprentices, I say you have what we call intelligence clients, and they're the ones that have more experience and more self-awareness. And then you have the lumps of wood, and they're just the ones that maybe have been raised as repressive copers, or taught not to listen to their body or emotions, or maybe there's just been so much trauma that that's not safe for them, or maybe they've just thought, I'll just take myself along to this psychic healer and she'll fix me and I won't have to do any work. For whatever reason, you're sometimes going to be faced with a client who can't co-create the healing with you. They can't work with you very easily. And so you start in that place where you do most of the work. But I'm always, always looking for opportunities to teach them skills, to make them independent from me. I don't believe in this idea of making them dependent upon my skill set. I want them to learn what I know, and I'll take them as far as I can with that. And everybody's got their spot where they're comfortable with. Some people, I guess that's the apprentices, isn't it? The ones that want to take it the whole way and learn how to do it themselves and for others.
Yeah. And I love that you brought that point up, because sometimes you do exactly, you get clients and they're just like, just work on me. But their nervous system can be in such a state that they are completely in freeze and shut down. And yeah, exactly. And they are like a lump of wood, because for them to even make the appointment, was a
That's
big deal. Yeah.
That's it. And I think too, I think more and more I work, I think there's certain kinds of neurodivergent people. You've got your trauma, you've got how you're raised, you've got your genetics, you've got social conditioning, but then you've got certain kinds of neurodivergence just don't lend themselves so easily to emotional regulation or feeling safe with your emotions or what's happening in your body. And so many things can collide together to make you what I would call a repressive coper. But it definitely makes my job a little harder. It just means I've got to go slower. And there's a lot more emphasis on making sure that people always have to have making people feel safe. It's just sometimes you've got to do that for many months before you can actually really start to dig into anything substantial within a person and their life. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to work with children a lot, and it was funny because I never asked kids to do things, and the parents are like, you just have expectations and you never ask them to do things. I said, because I set up what they know what to do,
Yeah.
and if they don't do that, then, that's fine. They just don't get to play the game. There's no kind of, but then the ones that would be really standoffish, they ended up being the most open client because they're like, oh, okay, the expectation, I feel safe now that I can actually show who I am and take the mask off because I understand the expectations and I know what's going to come forward in that session.
You have to win over the body. You have to win over the subconscious and the inner child. So I think of the inner child as the body, the subconscious, the emotions, the instinctual self, the history and how we're shaped by our past. And it's a more vulnerable part of us that thinks in a more childlike, instinctive way. And you have to win the trust and the faith of that part of the person. And then you have to teach them, once you've got that, you've got to teach them how to win the trust and the faith of that part of themselves so that they can build those bridges into the emotional world, the inner world, the subconscious, the body, open up lines of communication between them and themselves. Because a lot of people don't have those skills and they won't understand why they are behaving the way that they are, why they have a certain habit, why they react in a certain kind of way. And I just think it can be really tragic if we don't have skills that are extended to us that can help us develop a self-awareness where we can make choices, where we can not be locked in by the limitations of the conditioning and our past.
Yeah. What a different world we would be living in. And realizing that it's a perspective and a story and
Yeah.
you can change it. Which sounds weird to people. Like, but I can't change the past. Actually, you can. It's just your perspective. Yeah. And as we start to finish our time together, Omanisa, I asked the guests that come on the show, if you could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
Yeah, I think that I would probably like for it to be the emotional self-regulation that everybody had these skills and that they could have and manage their empathy for themselves and others in ways that still allowed them to feel safe, but to recognize that we're very much all in this together and that to be able to see ourselves in other people, and to be able to see ourselves in nature and to not feel so separate, not feel so threatened by differences in each other, to be able to look for that common ground without feeling unsafe and needing to double down or back ourselves into corners or make other people the enemy. I think that's what I would love to see.
Yeah. And I feel too, like to add on to that, it's like when everyone's realizes that we're all connected and everything we do has that butterfly effect, that it's like, oh, maybe I need to take a bit more responsibility for myself as well.
Yeah, well, that's it. My big motto in the classroom with the apprentices is self-care comes first. And I think I describe it as a responsibility. You as the healer have a responsibility for yourself. And you're trying to role model this for other people to show them, not just tell them, but show them that self-care is something that's really important, that they have a self-responsibility to be there for themselves with love and kindness and healthy boundaries.
Amen. 100%.
That's it. Exactly. Thank you. It's been lovely talking to you today.
And if people want to come and find you, Omanisa, and work with you or learn from you, if you want more apprentices, I don't know if you're looking for some more, where can they come and connect with you?
So my website, it's omanisa.com. Do I need to spell that, or will that be written somewhere?
I will make sure it's in the show notes, and I'll make sure the teleprompter gets it right too.
Yes. So omanisa.com. It is my birth name, by the way. And it's an Indigenous American name that means wanderer or soul drifter. But yes, you can contact me via my website. And absolutely, I am actively looking for online apprentices or students at the moment. I've got plenty locally, but I have a few people who want interstate who want to study, and I need partners for them. I like to keep my class sizes small, 2 or 3 people at the most, so that people are getting really focused attention.
Wonderful. I'll make sure to pop all those details in the show notes for you. And yes, and thank you so much for sharing your journey, Omanisa. And I love how you have combined naturopathy, auras, and you're sharing it with the world in such a beautiful space and allowing people to come back to themselves.
Thank you.
Are you looking for an afternoon boost to support you until the children go to bed or to get through that evening meeting? Why not reach for a cup of ceremonial cacao? It will boost your energy, reduce your inflammation, and also allow you to go to sleep at a decent hour. For more information on how to grab your ceremonial cacao, check out the link in the show notes for 10% off. Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.